Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Simplify SAC HR Planning and Analytics webinar. Today, we will actually go through our content around HR planning. Some of you may have seen an earlier version of that last year at about the same time. And some of you may also have seen some insights on this content during a webinar we did a few weeks ago with our customer, Wolverine. Wolverine Worldwide was talking about their SAC implementation, and we did focus on HR planning, although the presentation was a bit larger. I'm introducing myself. I'm Eric Blondet. I'm Simplify's VP Platform and Technologies. So getting into our presentation today, I'll do a quick introduction on who Simplify is. So obviously I will not spend a lot of time on this one. And then we will go into our pre-packed solution, some slides, but I know most of you want to see the solution, get a feel of how it would act, how you can interact with it, how the content works. So this is where we'll jump as fast as possible to really provide you with a demo of the solution and how you could go forward and do some HR planning. So first of all, Simplify, we deliver analytics solutions and planning solutions. We've been active for about 6 years, historically very focused on BPC, and in the past 2 years now, heavily focused on Analytics Cloud. We also cover competencies around BW, and Data Warehouse Cloud is another subject we're investing a lot right now, and SAP Group Reporting. Obviously, on today's presentation, we will be focusing on Analytics Cloud and what we've built in there. Outside of this, when we work with our customers, we're a small boutique firm, so references are the most important thing. So our goal is 100% of our customers are happy and are ready to reference us, a bit like Wolverine Worldwide did a few weeks ago. We also work a lot with SAP, and we have a lot of content working with SAP on Analytics Cloud. They approach us very regularly for demos, workshops, and other events. Our head office is in Chicago, but we do have a local office in Montreal as well, which allows us to cover most of the Midwest in the US and Canada from a local representation perspective. Most of our projects today on Analytics Cloud are based on our pre-packed solutions. We've built and invested in a lot of solutions based on our expertise. Most of Simplify personnel are CPAs, have MBAs, so really focused on what customers need, the financial planning and other types of planning that are required. So we've built a lot of planning solutions around sales, pipeline coming from CRM solutions, revenue and costing planning, obviously all of this feeding a P&L, expense planning, HR planning, obviously, which is the one we're looking at today, capital planning, balance sheet, cash flow, intercompany, transfer pricing. So a lot of content that really from the first day of building a solution, we actually have content we can present to you, content that has proven itself while implementing it at other customers and that we improve as we go forward. We're actually going to talk about our roadmap towards the end of this presentation. Today, we're focusing on HR planning and headcount planning. So this is really the content we're focusing. This is really positioned within our broader range of planning solutions I just mentioned. So typically, when you have your HR plan, you build all your compensation using taxes, benefits. We'll look into this. And this would field your expense planning. So you would have an HR component, which is fed automatically, so you do not need to plan it when you go to cost center level. This is really all detailed in your HR planning model. And finally, you feed all of this in your P&L balance sheet so that you really have an overall corporate plan that you can also edit at top line P&L level. Okay, and here are some other components that are not related directly to HR planning. If some of those subjects actually interest you, I really encourage you to go on our website and look at the upcoming events. So today, April 14th, HR planning. The next event on this here is about capital planning with presented by Yaret Bialik, who's one of the partners at Simplify. And later in May, you'll have Beth McBreen, who will be going through the end-to-end planning. So all of this here, how does it look when it's all integrated together and you go through every single one of those processes to come up with a final P&L balance sheet? So if the overall vision of this planning content is what interests you, I really encourage you to go and assist to Beth's webinar on May 26th. Again, on our website, you have the link to register. And finally, in June, John Essig, managing partner at Simplify, will also be presenting our content around pipeline and sales planning. And how this integrates together and actually feeds into the revenue and costing and everything related to sales. These are really prepackaged walkthroughs of our content, but in 2 weeks, actually, April 28th and 29th, we're doing a joint event with SAP where this will be an actual workshop. This is a paid event, but this is where you'll get full training on how to build financial reporting in SAC. So these are 2 half days where you will go through all the steps. How can you build a full financial reporting in SAC? And obviously, typically with data coming out of S4, but also coming out of other systems. So this is really the focus of that 2-day workshop coming up in April. If your focus is really HR, and I assume some of you may have that focus since this is today's subject, in May, we're actually running another joint session with SAP, where we will go ahead and, we will be building a hands-on workshop on HR planning. So this will be driven, we will have Eric Smith, head of planning and analytics at SAP, presenting there. Chris Clay, who will be running part of the training, and part of the training will be run by myself as well. Also, on the first day, we will have an introduction by another one of our customers with whom we've implemented HR planning, and this is Fiserv. So Leela Cheetah, who's the Senior Financial System Director at Fiserv, will be also commenting about implementing this kind of solution at Fiserv themselves. So if that interests you, also on our website, you can register for May 19th and 20th, and this one is actually free, and we will be providing system access where you can actually walk through building out a complete planning solution. Now, our subject today, HR planning. Let's get into it. So I won't go too much in detail on those slides. You can actually find them on our website. So if you're interested in understanding a bit more about this content, all this content is very well explained, but we will actually see it live in a few seconds where you can understand how the solution actually works. From the whole HR planning process, what you can set from a top-down perspective, and also from a bottom-up perspective, that's the next one, where we really maintain data from an employee level with all the information ramping up. Do not hesitate to go on our website to get more info. And also, if you have questions while going through this webinar, you will find a question section in the GoToWebinar console. So don't hesitate, you can submit a question there. I will not be looking at those questions all the time, but one of my colleagues is currently watching it. And if there's anything important, he'll either answer you directly or will raise it to me later on when we're in the question period towards the end. Okay. Let me go here. So we have our content. So just one thing, when you implement our content, there's a lot of components are all already available in it. You can have a basic workflow. We will actually go through it as we look at it, where you can really assign who's responsible for what section and have follow-up emails that are automatically sent by the system. We have stories. So those are all the screens you're looking at. Data actions. This is back-end coding that executes a lot of the calculations you don't want to waste time doing manually when you build your plan. If you know someone's salary, for example, we all know how to calculate taxes, how benefits are typically calculated, what are the merit percentages, so what's the increase you're going to see mid-year. So all these notions are calculated automatically the moment you have base pay, and everything else are parameters that really help you build your plan without spending time on details. You shouldn't have to, because those are included in typical HR information systems. Also, I mentioned earlier our roadmap. So right now we have delivered our Q1 improvements. So we will see as a new hire replacement. I actually demoed it a while back, but out of context with application design. So we will be looking at this one inside our plan. And also the fact that right now our system was mainly focused on US taxes, FICA, FUTA, and other really US specific taxes. So right now we've actually enhanced our model to cover taxes from almost everywhere. Right now, you will only see US and Canada taxes, but the idea is actually right now it's flexible. If you know a rate, you can just load any country, state, province, general area taxes, and the solution will be able to support it. Going forward, we're actually continuing on improving it. So what we're working on right now is most of our plan is really bottom up today. So if you had a manager who wanted to define a target that you could track your plan to, this is what the next step is for us. So top line, people can define these are our HR compensation objectives, and people who are planning can see, okay, this is where I'm heading based on that top line target. So we are building right now this solution, which would be available by summer. And also redesigning security. We all know security is extremely important for HR compensation. You have salaries, you have so much information that a lot of enterprises do not want to share. So right now it's very specific. If you own a cost center, you can see compensation in this cost center. But there's a bit more you want to have. Maybe you don't want the admin to maintain all those taxes. For example, in our model, the admin will maintain taxes for every single country. But if you want to have people in different countries, so maybe you want to have security a bit more flexible while at the same time keeping everything secure. So a lot of things we are working on, and also following SAP's roadmap. Gone are the days where SAP's roadmap was a PDF. They put on our website and a year later they changed it. Right now it's really something that's dynamic, it's moving, new options coming up, it's updated very regularly. You can flag improvements you want to be able to use in the future. You go in there and you really are able to see all of this. One of them we're tracking right now is there's a lot of improvement around the SAC Excel add-in. So doing a lot of the tasks I'm going to show you today through Excel. It's still a basic version, but there are a lot of improvements in there that are closer to Q2. So again, later this year, that would enable us to improve the Excel look and feel of our solution. Right now, we will not go through Excel in our demo today. We will keep it on a web page. Okay, and the data you're seeing in the demo today, it's sample data, obviously, but our content is really built to get data out of S4 and SuccessFactor. It can be adjusted for just about any other source system. We have customers who have a lot of non-SAP systems, and we bring that data in anyways. But right now, the way the solution is thought out of the box is to be able to get data from S4 and SuccessFactors. So that's enough with slides. I think most of you were just waiting for the demo to start. So let me go there. So here you're in the simplify, yes, but SAP Analytics Cloud launch page. So if you've seen it before, I won't spend too much time here, but the idea is you have your kind of your history, what you've opened, some indicators you may have tagged in some of your reports. And in our case here, I know the tasks I'm following are in my favorites here. Okay, something else that can happen as well is you can define a calendar. I was talking earlier about workflow. So when you go in your calendar, you're actually able to put different tasks. So right now we have our HR plan, and we can see where we're at in terms of different sales and other cost center requirements. Right now in this workflow, I'm only assigned Sales Canada. So if I wanted to come in here, my manager would be able to see, okay, I haven't started, I'm at 0%. But myself, if I go in here, I can see what's the details of what's assigned to me. So I'm assigned to it. I have until April 17th to do it. Some other information, who's the owner, in this case here, I'm the owner and the assignee, and no one's reviewing. So it's very basic workflow, but you can go much further and implement this. So in this case, I'll jump right away in my inputs. I'll talk about these screens in a few minutes, but really what I wanted to call out is as you're going through your workflow, you actually see, okay, this is due in 3 days. I'm going to start planning my information, and when I'm done, I can submit. Or for whatever reason, I don't agree, and I want to decline the fact that I need to plan it. So obviously, you'll need to talk to someone if you decide that you're not going to be filling in your plan. So this whole workflow actually adds a lot of interactivity, and the whole hierarchy I just showed you in the calendar sends email automatically. You can configure it to send an automated reminder if you're 1 day till due date. So people, oh, by the way, you haven't done it, and if they've forgotten, they get that email, which sends them back directly in their plan. So really adds a lot of flexibility to how you build your plan. And actually, I forgot to mention something. When I did go in here and we were looking at the plan, this is actually the cost center hierarchy. So when I generate the plan, I just say HR plan on cost center hierarchy. In my master data, I can define who's a reviewer, who's the owner, who's the ones we're seeing here. We see owner, assignee, reviewers. And so if these are maintained in master data, all of this is assigned automatically when you start your plan, and it generates a whole hierarchy. So as a manager, you can really see top level percentages and how everyone is doing in terms of updating their plan. Okay. In today's case, we'll keep it outside of this workflow just to see the whole solution as we go in and not be focused only on a specific cost center. So in this case here, I have one of my favorites here, and I'm just going to go directly to my plan. One thing that's interesting with SAC is you have a lot of flexibility to visualize your workflow. How are you going to set it up? How can you actually define all your different steps? Because if you do this every quarter or even every year, let's imagine this is a yearly plan, you don't do forecasts, you only come here. You want to have some visual cues that kind of help you understand where you're going. You don't want all those option buttons you get in some system, and let's admit BPC if you are on the SAP solutions. So here it's really streamlined to help the end user see, okay, so right now, update employee and position dimension, is that my responsibility? So loading that information, typically that's from a technical perspective, people will load it in. And who's responsible for bringing in HR base pay data? So base pay with all employees. So obviously this is another item that needs to be secured. So someone loads that information in, and from the next step, this is where all the visualization security applies. In our Launchpad here, we also allow people to add comments, so you can share information with other users. You can have some comments that are really centralized here, or you can just have a kind of a chat window that's related to this Launchpad as well, that people can actually exchange on and see what if they have issues, questions. You can share links to somewhere in this process. So this is really something that helps really make it interactive and collaborative, because let's keep in mind, this year has been a very different year, and being able to share information, share questions easily through a tool can really simplify. I think we've all been using all those Teams, Zoom, and other centralized tools, and being able to share within your planning, this is something else that really improves communication as you go through your plan. So load HR data, and then you have your admin inputs by entity. So in this case here, these are really top level. So you expect that merit increases will be done in March, and on average it's 3%. So this is where you maintain that. All those taxes by country I mentioned, an administrator manages it here. Also validate the base pay load. This would be done by the admin here before you really go cost center inputs by employee, which we'll go into in a few minutes. If you have new employees, there's also a possibility of bringing that data either from a website posting or as a replacement employee from compared to someone who's already there, and use that information to generate it. Once you have all your base cost center inputs by employee, so base pay, you run it and you have all your benefits calculated, your taxes. Next step is, are there transfers we need to take into account this year? Do I know, for example, that towards the end of the year, someone, let's say Jennifer, to call her, to give her a name, transfers from finance to sales. So she decided she wanted to focus on sales a bit more. So we know that's happening later this year. So in my budget, I know I'm losing someone, so my budget will go down. And most probably sales would like to know that budget is going up. For sure, we could both sides just enter dollars to adjust it, but we can automate that transfer. And for some customers, this really kind of improves the communication again, because you send to the other one, okay, this is the amount I'm removing from my budget. I'm sending it to you, and then you can approve it on the other end. And then obviously reporting will review towards the end. Once you've built your whole plan, this, as you remember my slide at the beginning where we were showing that all the components were interrelated, this is where you just literally click that button and it sends it to your cost center plan. We will not be covering that one today, but if you kind of want to see the relationship between both, that's where you want to follow Beth McBreen's end-to-end plan a bit later on this year. Okay, so that being said, let's get into the solution itself. So right now I'm the admin. Okay, so I'm going in. We've loaded the data from SuccessFactor, some dollar data from S4. So I have all of this in here, so I'm able to start planning. So in this case, I'm actually going to go on US. Let's see. So for example, this was on Canada. So I'm going to go East US. So here I can see those 4% merit starting month 3. So if I'm on a calendar year, it means in March, on average, I'm applying a 4% increase to all my employees. So is that the average this year? So automatically the tool will take that into account and give everyone a 4% increase as of March. So going forward in the year, salaries will be adjusted and your plan will be current. In the US, so FICA dollar limit, so it's 6.2% until you reach that level of income. So automatically it's going to calculate 6.2% of your income in FICA, okay? And the moment your income goes over this, so depending on your total salary, you may never go over, or you may go over mid-year. So the moment you go over, it will stop adding that 6.2%. So again, your plan for all those tax costs is current as well. Same thing for medical, FUTA, SUTA, some insurance. So in this case, a monthly insurance, automatically we define an average. So monthly insurance, obviously, you don't want to plan by knowing everyone's insurance premiums. You may not want to have all this in here, and that may be unnecessary noise, but you know on average it's 430 per employee. So let's have this here, and it's going to be seated within the whole employee base. And other information that you will use as a basic reference as you build out your plan. Separately, salaries, depending on the month, you know, there are certain reasons why every month you don't have the same number of work days you're going to be paying them. So it all depends on your model. If you're paying everyone as a regular spread throughout the year, you may not want to use this too much. But if it's really depending on work days, if they're hourly salaries, so you want to have how many working days per month, okay, and this could be a fiscal period as well, obviously, and how many working days in the whole year. So this will technically be 23 on 262, gives a percentage, and this will be the split for base pay for January, and so forth for the whole year. So you have everything calculated, again, spread out by month with all the basic tax calculations. So as you go forward, you've only entered base pay, and everything else is calculated for you. So here you can review what was loaded as well. So for example, sales east, we have everyone that was provided. You have, is he active? What's his position? Is he full-time or part-time? Which obviously has an impact. because base annual pay would be for full-time employees. Someone who's not full-time, we want to be able to calculate proportional amounts. Merit is here, so here we can adjust. If some people we know, okay, that person's not going to be in the average, maybe came in later, we can make adjustments here. Also, is that person going to be here the whole year? So if he was here at the beginning of the year, it's going to be 1 by default, start month. Is he going to be here till the end of the year? If I know someone is leaving mid-year, so let's say Brian sadly decided to leave, and in August, Brian is going to be gone. So you can have that information maintained directly here. We're still at the admin level. You'll see that as a cost center owner, later on, I'll be able to do this only for my cost center as well. Bonus target, is there a bonus target? Commission targets you want to have applied in here so that they're taken into account. And this is really the base load you're loading from an external system. And this is what you're seeding for the plan, okay? Now, I'm just gonna cancel what I just did. I'll just put an 8, but as an admin, I don't really know. So I can always go and see, okay, where did I do inputs? So I've only been playing on budget. I'm just gonna cancel the entry I made. So I just reverted that entry. So we're back to full year. Okay, and here I can see right now there's nothing in my versions that I can actually interact with. And obviously you would have tabs for each country. Obviously there are no pension tax rates for Canada in the US. In this case, I need to be looking at my Canadian entity where these taxes are maintained. So here we only have 2 provinces. Let's say this company only has offices in Ontario and Quebec, but you're able to compare taxes. And again, as you input base pay, also with currency dependencies, well, everything will be updated appropriately in your system. Something else that is not in our demo, but is often implemented is local currency versus global currency. So there's a lot of flexibility in here. You input everything in local currency, and then your reporting is mainly at the group currency, which could be US dollar if you're a US based company. So I've gone through the admin and preparation. So now I'm going to go in as a cost center owner. So this was admin inputs. Now it's cost center inputs by employee. But the first thing when I go in here, you know, I talked about those taxes and all this information, but there are some accounts that are very cost center specific. So if I look at this one here, so I know 401k percentages are going to vary based on the cost center for whatever reasons. Annual overtime, so some cost centers do not have any. Some others, we plan some overtime, we want to see it within our plan, and some other costs that we know will come up, and we need to take those into account. So here in this case, some costs related to sales, so outside of commissions or others that we really want to make sure are part of our plan because it's a buffer as we plan. So these are really cost center level admin inputs, similar to the admin ones we saw earlier, but here it's while I'm focusing on specific cost centers. Security in a normal sales system right now would only show me sales East US. I can do it here, so which will simulate this kind of information. So I could go sales East. So security here would be based on these nodes. So I just remove this, go sales East and sales Canada, for example. Let's say security defines that I'm able to maintain both. So this is the information we saw earlier. So base annual pay. And if you need to do adjustments, for example, Maryland is actually getting an increase soon. It's not in the books, but I know it has to be in my budget. So I'm making an adjustment on her salary here, and this will be taken into account in my calculations. I cannot modify the base annual pay that was fed in, but I can make an adjustment, and this is the number that will actually be managed. Also, for hourly based employees, I can make an adjustment on hourly rate, which will impact the rest. Merit, so for example, here we can make adjustments up or down depending on what's required. Also, we see this one, he was in my budget last year, so he still appeared, but the system says he's gone. So I can see it here, I can see him, so I know, oh yes, okay, he's 0 in my plan. So I'm actually able to maintain this, and he's gone. So if I go back here. I think I said earlier it was Brian who's leaving. So I'm actually going to say Brian is leaving in August. So I'm applying this here now. We can still see I have my headcount and FTE, which are automatically calculated for every single line. You'll notice this FTE is actually 0.75 because this position is actually part-time. So in every FTE-based calculations, this will actually be used, okay? And obviously, if you need to comment some things as you do it, so for example, for Brian, tendered resignation in July. So you can apply this here, and now you have your comment that's literally on the line here, and you can always double click on it to review it later on. So you have this updated. Once you've updated all your information, maybe you have some additional employees. These are some new hires you want to have. There's another screen for new hires I mentioned earlier, but right now if it's only a basic new hire, so I could just go here, add member, and just say, okay, that's for Canada. So cost center is C12001. Okay, obviously, so sales. Why am I only seeing sales US East? Oh, that's because here I'm filtered on the US. So here, I should be good. Sales Canada now, because this is the entity, the company code for Canada. So I have Sales Canada, so it's already defined. So here I could enter new hire Brian, or whatever I want to put. So new hire Brian. Yes, I'll want him active in my calculations. I apply this. I'm going to define his position as I go forward. So what kind of position is he in? Don't remember what the position Brian was. Let's say he's a controller, full-time. And why is that not working? It's always in demos. Member is already booked. I don't get that one in the screen. Now, usually, if I had entered everything appropriately, so demo issues all the time, huh? So I would be able to then enter base annual pay, start month, end month. Okay, so that worked last time I tried. So not too sure why it is not working today. Okay, that would be the notion here. At least you've entered your employee and you would be able to build your plan. I won't waste time on this more than that. Then you've entered your employees, you've calculated, you've made some adjustments. Brian here, we know he's leaving, and we have overall salary with his merit increase, and so his salary, some taxes that are applied and everything. So that's done for everyone. And if we've made updates, we can just run calculations. And these will, again, look for everyone. So sales East US, this is what I'm responsible for. And I'm running it on 2020, by the way. So bear with me, I'm still planning 2020. We haven't loaded new data in our demo system, but this would apply obviously to 2022, for example, if this is what we're building, or actually since we're in 2021, you could see this as a forecast for 2021, where I'm just updating it. So imagine these are 2021 numbers you're seeing all through the demo, and I'm going to be planning on 2020. So right now, it is going through every single employee. It is looking at base pay information, any adjustments I made. So remember, Maryland has 100,000 now, so most probably it's going to be a bit higher than 115. And Brian is leaving, so most probably total cost for this year is going to be a bit lower than 105. So it's making those adjustments, but at the same time reviewing everything just to make sure there are no indicators I change at the beginning, so tax rates that change, everything. So it runs those calculations, and it actually it's so going for every single employee, and it's also spreading it out per month, because again, this is an annual salary with annual taxes, but in back end right now, it's looking at 2020 data and spreading it out to every single month. So based on all my criteria, the start month, end month I have here, all the numbers I've inputted, I'm going to have all this calculated, and it shouldn't be taking that long. So should be getting a result very soon. Yes. Okay. So if we look at it here, so we see Marilyn had a raise. So we see her numbers actually went up. So this is taken into account. And then you also have, and by the way, we're actually halfway through the year already, and March is over. So the raise actually didn't go back. We're in April, most probably it updated April going forward. So that's why for the whole year, she's not up to that salary. And then Brian went down from 105 to 70 because he's leaving in August. So your whole plan is updated with current dollars. That really enables you to do it. So we have customers with huge volumes where it goes much faster than my little sample data. So I'm not too sure what was happening here from a timeline perspective. And then at the end, you can review, okay, how is everything going? So yes, this is actually my costs for Sales East US. These are my total compensation costs per month. So I can really review what's happening. Same thing in Canada. So I know someone else needs to review Sales US, but I'm responsible for Canada. I'm going to lock it now. I want to make sure this is the final budget. No one else plays with it. So if you're the owner, you can always go and manage data locks. So I right-clicked on Canada. So Sales Canada, you can see I'm in budget. I could also expand on the year to say I just want to lock it some part of the year. But in this case here, Sales East Canada, I'm going to lock it. So that's final budget. No one else touches it. People will be able to see it, but no one else will be able to unlock it unless they're the owner. Okay, so you try not to have too many owners in the system, or else it becomes a pain to maintain. You can also have multiple steps. The owner can put it as restricted. If he has multiple people who report to him who are inputting the budget, he's saying, okay, tonight at midnight, we're locking it. So he can put it restricted. And as the owner, he's still able to do updates, but everyone else who's not the owner but had input access won't. So it's the same thing as locked, but with an administrator or an owner that can still make adjustments and then lock it permanently for everyone. So in this case here, I'm locking Sales Canada budget for all of 2020. So that budget is done. No one else can play with it. If they want to play with it, they need to either create themselves a new planning version, which we won't go in today. But here you can actually see it all to, Canada data. I cannot click on it anymore. I cannot do anything. Whereas US, Sales East US, I can still make adjustments. Okay, and I could make monthly adjustments if that was necessary. But this is taking everything into account. I can drill down into the different taxes that were followed. So FICA, Medicare, FUTA tax, insurance, 401k, we saw was defined earlier, other benefits that has a flat rate throughout the year, and so forth. All of this is automated based on those initial inputs and taken into account as you build your plan. And some taxes, as you see here, zero out when they go over the max amount that applies. So this can become very useful so that it builds your budget for you. All you need to know is base pay and general rules. So once you have this is when you can go into employee transfers. I'll quickly go into a different new employee window that we created as well. This one is actually based on, it's an analytic application. So it's a bit different than the story in the sense that a lot of the components are scripted. So to kind of simplify someone's work. So here we can imagine we've loaded our job postings from our website. Okay, so these are posted on our website. We've posted positions when they've been posted and or when we expect them to start. We have a record ID on our website, and when we expect them to start, that's here, and what's the salary. Okay, so right now we're not very original in terms of salaries, and these are the current new hire listings. So now I selected Marketing East in September, starting in September. Okay, we want him to start quickly. So Open Rec 02. So that's the one I actually want to bring into my budget. Okay, it's on our website, but it's not in my budget because it's nowhere in our HR systems. I can just select it from our website postings that I've loaded here, click New Member, and we'll see it automatically appear in my plan. So we have it here. So we have this information. So from now on, Marketing East US, Open Rec 2. So it took the employee ID is actually the job opening ID that we loaded from our website. So this really can improve there's some links between postings and new hires. Same thing for current employees. If we know I'm replacing Brian, so Brian is here. No, it's not the same Brian. Where is he? Sales US East. It is the same one. So it's just a different list, didn't update the other salaries. So I've selected him here and I can map it. So he's actually, that new hire I put in my budget, I wanted to have what's in Brian Zeller's profile. So right now there's zeros. So I'm just going to seed that information. It's going to take my existing employee data and going to bring it over. There's no bonus or commissions. There's a base salary. This is bringing it up here. But since I'm replacing an employee, start month and month, I still need to define it here so that we have it appropriately. So he's coming in September. And till the end of our plan. Okay. So this is for new employees. I bring in my budget. Cost center transfers. So this is really the final step in our plan. So people we want to transfer into our plan, this is where we can define, okay, this person is in my budget right now, but I know in August, for example, is going to transfer out. So actually, let's say Jennifer Smith. So Jennifer, so she's finance right now, mentioned her earlier if you followed. And Jennifer is transferring out of finance for whatever reason. She decided to give it a go in sales. I discussed with the sales manager and we decided, okay, in August, it's a good month to do this transfer. So what I'm seeing is I'm actually going to move out 84,000 worth of total comp outside of my budget and send that to the sales manager. And on his side, he's going to look at it. And if he has another agreement with Jennifer, he'll be able to adjust it once it gets to his end. But me, I know I'm moving 84,000 out of my budget. So I've selected this. This is more of a report to kind of get an idea of what I want to transfer, so that when I transfer here, submit transfer, I can I know exactly what I'm transferring. So Jennifer Smith, transfer out month, we did say August, so I'm going to put 8/2020. Let's remember I'm in 2020 right now, and we're planning for the year, so I won't go into next year. These are different options you could put if you wanted to plan for multiple years. So now I've generated this. So it is submitting a transfer. It is sending the information for sales. But in my case, I know it's sending 84,000 out of my budget and we'll be sending it to Sales US East. Okay, I could change the report still and see that the overall cost of Jennifer in my cost center is obviously higher, but this is what I'm transferring out. So it's canceling itself out, and there's an audit in the back end. So you can audit all those transfers as you go forward. So transfers requested, this screen typically wouldn't exist, okay? But these are two tasks that need to be scheduled in the background. So you would schedule them either hourly, daily, depending on how you want to manage this. So this is really because I can write in my cost center, but I cannot write in the other one's cost center. Sales is not my cost center, so I cannot write that adjustment on his side. So the admin job will read what I have just asked from a finance perspective, and now he sent it for approval in sales. Okay, so that transfer is sent for approval. So that's from an admin kind of a dashboard perspective. We see we have one transfer sent for approval, can have an idea. And now I'm actually sales here. So imagine you have 2 or 3 different people looking at different screens. So here I see I have this amount being transferred. So I can, once the transfer is over, I can go and adjust those numbers in the other screens we saw earlier, if that's not the salary she'll have in my department. But at least I have the initial information that's coming here, just to see the overall impact to my costs. And she's not in Canada, she's in the US. So literally I can see, okay, this is what's going to be added to my cost center. That's fine. And anyways, I know that's not exactly it, so I'll make adjustments. But I know that's what's being thrown out of the other cost center. So I can approve or reject. Reject will just send it back. The other person will have information that it was rejected and everything will be back as normal. Approve confirms it's being sent here, and I'm going to be approved employee. Yes, you can imagine you have more than one on this screen. So you may want to approve them all at once or one at a time. In this case, we took the option of approving one at a time. So we run it. And then once this is run, this appears from here. And here it's transfers approved. Now there's the approval workflow complete. That's not. So the receiver from the transfer did approve this transfer, but there's one final step. She's still in finance from a cost center perspective. There's a final step that confirms the workflow is complete. So she is in Sales East as of August, and she is no longer in finance. Right now, it's only a trace information that's being generated. If I click on this here, now she will be out of finance and into sales permanently. From a planning perspective, again, this is only for plan. This is not an official HR plan. This is not an official HR maintenance system. This is really for our plan. We've done all this. Now we could go and look at some cost center reporting. Let me have a look here. And opening. Okay, so here I have all my information. Everything is properly set up, so I can see everything is done. So I have built my plan. I can see some variances between FTE versus salaries. Does it follow the trend? Is there anything I want to track? So that's from a cost center reporting. You could have entity reporting. Could also have more involved reports that really enable you to dig down into the plan you just built. And so you can review your actually trend versus actual. This is all integrated. So here you have your actuals. So we're up to March. So April actuals are not in yet. 2020, yes. And with your budget that goes all the way till the end of the year. Right now, we're only looking at sales and marketing, but I could obviously include production information if I had access to it to see what impacts this has totally. FTE headcount, comparisons to budget, and overall information, so you can really get an overview. Also, some other very important questions nowadays also is all those changes, what does it do from gender diversity? So this is some reporting. So how does your plan affect this? So this is information we haven't looked at, but some indicators you want to look at. And as the plan goes forward, some of them are maybe very important within your company or within your state or wherever you are, and you want to make sure you respect some objectives. Also, you can see here that headcount is trending down in 2020. So things you may want to be looking at, and also average salary per country, what's the impact on your company? Okay, so you have all this, and then we've come to the final review. Once we're comfortable with this, this is when you would push to cost center planning. And from a cost center perspective, just to give you a look, we will stop there from a demo perspective. But if I was to go in favorites, open my expense plan, all the costs and all the HR plan you did, you could also bring them in from here. Now we push them from the other side. So payroll expenses, They're all loaded in here. I didn't push it right now, so those are not the numbers we were looking at. But you see your actuals for 2019 and then your budget going forward. This is what you have. We could have a rolling forecast as well here. Rolling forecast always works better when you're following the actual dates. Rolling forecast in 2020 when you're in 2021 doesn't show nicely. But here you can see that you cannot modify this budget. This is all maintained in the HR plan. Cost center plan looks at the other costs you may have. Okay? So hope you all appreciated the demonstration today. I hope you learned something. Don't hesitate to contact me. So you have my email on screen if you have questions on what you saw, or go on our website. There's a lot of information, our content, and other subjects that you may want to investigate. Okay, thank you for your time today, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.